I want to give you fair warning. If you watch this video all the way through, you will never look at these pieces of paper here the same way again. So if you don't want to know why inflation exists and what's going on with the purchasing power of our dollar, click one of these videos over here. Don't watch this video all the way through, but if you do want to know more, watch the video all the way through. Maybe even watch it twice. And let me know what you think in a comment down below. Let's get into the video and get this stuff out of the way here. This is all prop money, by the way. I would never have that much fiat. But 3 key years will tell you everything you need to know about the loss of the purchasing power of our dollar. The first one is 1933, the second one is 1944, and the third one is 1971. Let's get into the video. So I have some very interesting points to show you over here, some charts, some information about these years, and let's just get right on into it. So first year I had talked about is 1933. So 1933 is when Executive Order 6102 was signed by Franklin D. Roosevelt. Now, this is essentially what Franklin Roosevelt did to steal the world's gold, or specifically the U.S. Citizens' gold, and said it is illegal for the average citizen to hoard gold coin, gold bullion, and gold certificates. So this gold bar right here, this is gold bullion. And this is ironically dated 1946, after this 1933 executive order went through, which essentially, for me to own this gold bar in 1946, when this gold bar was made, it would have been illegal. I actually would have gone to jail for holding this gold bar, which is insane. I've made another video on that as well. If you want to see pictures of this, go to my Instagram, at RobSultan on Instagram, shameless plug. Go follow me there if you want to see pictures of these bars. This is actually a Comex bar, and this one is from 1951, if you can believe it. So this is a silver Comex bar from the New York Assay Office, and this is a gold bullion bar from the New York Assay Office. Both of these were made after 1933 and pre-1971. So it was during this period, it was illegal to have this gold bar, and basically the average citizen couldn't get this. So it makes these bars super cool, and that's why I collect them. But let's keep going with this video. This is to show you, though, what money used to be, and it was actually illegal to have real money back at the time these were made due to this executive order. So this is the first year I'm talking about, 1933. Franklin Roosevelt makes it illegal and then takes the citizens' gold at a specific price of roughly $20 an ounce. So it says, hey, it is illegal now for you to hold gold. We need you, the average citizen, the U.S. citizen, to come in and bring us all of your gold. You're no longer legally allowed to hoard it, and we will buy it off of you at a fixed price of just over $20 an ounce. Remember that, $20 an ounce. Why was it $20 an ounce? Well, let's go back to this screen real quick. This is what our old $20 bill used to be. It was a gold 1-ounce coin. Now it's like a graded collectible. But at one point, this was just our $20 bill. So when you see that it was a fixed price of $20 per ounce, because a $20 bill was an ounce of gold. It was simpler times back then. Simpler times. Back to the screen share here. So to prove what I was just talking about, this is the price of gold prior to 1933. Notice how it was fixed down here at roughly $20 an ounce because that was our $20 bill. Then after 1933, all of a sudden it spiked up to $35. Why was that? Because of this next year over. After 1933 and 1934, they made it so that all of the gold the Federal Reserve owned, all of their certificates for gold that the Federal Reserve owned, they had to give it over to the U.S. Treasury. Now, when that happened, they actually, at the same time as dropping the Gold Reserve Act of 1934, they made the price of gold go from $20.67 fixed price, which is what they bought it for. Imagine if you could do business like this. Make everybody give you their gold for $20.67 an ounce, and then 1 year after basically stealing all of the gold, change the price to $35 an ounce. And that is why you see the price go from 20 to 35, because they fixed the price to 35 an ounce. So basically they stole the citizens' gold and then changed the price they stole it at $20 and then they changed the price to 35. Pretty crazy. Now, the next year, so I'm kind of pushing those into the same thing because it basically is pretty much the same year, or it's 1933 and 1934, but we're going to classify that of one of the three, which is 1933, they stole it. 1934, they kind of kept it stolen and then made it so that all of the gold changed the price to $35 an ounce. And then the Bretton Woods Agreement happened. This is the next key date, 1944. In Bretton Woods, they basically had all of the world governments come together in Bretton Woods, and they said, hey, we're going to basically hold all the world's gold. Everyone's going to use dollars. We'll hold it here because you can trust us, right? You can trust us. We're trustworthy. We'll hold your gold. That's what we did. This is why you don't trust custodians. So we basically negotiated that everyone would trust the dollar and that we would hold the world's gold and everything would be back to the dollar pegged at $35 an ounce. Keep in mind that they had already taken all the gold from the U.S. citizens for the past 10 years prior to this agreement. So they were able to actually accumulate. In 1930, they had 6,358 metric tons of gold. And by 1940, the U.S. Treasury had 19,554 metric tons of gold. Over 10 years, from 1930 to 1940, they were able to 3x the amount of gold that the U.S. held. So that put them in a position of power prior to this 1944 Bretton Woods Agreement, where everyone had to trust the U.S. dollar, and they all backed it to gold. So that is how, essentially, they were trusted with all of the gold. Now, when I say this video title is one individual messed all of this up, it was one individual. This was just the start of it. So technically it was two individuals. Technically it was Roosevelt and Nixon, but we're going to basically go after Nixon because Nixon made it so that it never went back to the gold standard that it used to be. In 1971, Nixon came into play, and he was faced with a very tough predicament. They had done Bretton Woods, and all of the world was operating on dollars. And what happened? Well, people started to not trust the U.S. government anymore. People started saying, wait a minute, what's going on here? Do you even have the gold to back these dollars that we hold? And so the first one was Germany. So in May 1971, West Germany left the Bretton Woods system, unwilling to revalue the mark. In the following 3 months, this move strengthened its economy. So getting off of dollars strengthened the German economy. So they were the first one. Then Switzerland started redeeming their gold from the U.S., saying, hey, here's your dollars back. Let's get that gold back over here in Switzerland. We'd appreciate that. Started getting their gold back. Then France came in, and this is when Nixon got scared, is when France came into the picture. This is information, by the way, that none of the college economics professors will teach you. So shout out to the college economics professors that don't teach the real information in schools. So hit the like button for that. But here's some crazy information. France actually sent a warship to New York at this time. In 1971, they had got the hunch that Nixon was going to drop the gold standard and said, no, we want our gold. France was able to get $191 million in gold on August 5th. Keep in mind, just 10 days later, this is August 5th, 1971, they brought a warship to New York to get that much gold, a astounding $191 million in gold, which is a lot more today than it was back then. Keep in mind, they even paid a premium to get that gold. The price fix was at $35 an ounce, so they had to pay $35 an ounce in dollars to get that gold back. So they brought a bunch of dollars via warship and then had them load up the gold on their French warship and brought it back to France. That actually happened. Look it up. So that is when Nixon got very scared, and just 10 days after that, really, it was France that gave Nixon the final push, because that's what had happened. And then that is when, in August 13th, they started talking about it, going, what's going on here? Nixon then, on the 15th of August, Nixon is when he made that announcement saying, we are going to temporarily suspend the convertibility of the U.S. dollar to gold. So keep in mind, Nixon had actually, quote unquote, said temporarily suspend the convertibility of the U.S. dollar to gold. It never went back. More than 50 years later, temporary is still there. And what happened because of that? Well, that's the next chart here. This is $1 adjusted for inflation from 1933 until today. So $1 in 1933 now is what roughly $20 to $25 adjusted for inflation is now today. The next chart really puts it into picture here. This is the buying power of $1 over time. From 1933 until today, because they dropped the gold standard, it made it so that M1 supply could keep expanding and expanding and expanding, give more and more power to the Federal Reserve, and they basically made it so that the dollar became worthless. That is how much your dollar has lost its purchasing power. Nearly 100% of it. It's above 90% loss of purchasing power. It's arguable whether the exact amount, but it's somewhere between 90 to 99% of its buying power was taken out of the picture from 1933 until today. It's pretty scary stuff. Now, the next thing I wanted to show you here is the actual reserve, or not the reserve, the actual law in 1933. So under executive order of the president, this is when Roosevelt did this in 1933, all gold coin, gold bullion, and gold certificates now owned by them to the federal. All persons are required to deliver on or before May 1st, 1933, all gold coin, gold bullion, and gold certificates now owned by them to a Federal Reserve Bank, branch, or agency, or any member of the bank or Federal Reserve System. Now, keep in mind, this was step one. So stage one was to make it illegal so that everybody would go drop off their gold to the federal banks. Then stage two was in 1934, was to make all the federal banks give the gold from the banks to the U.S. Treasury and then fix the price at $35 an ounce. So they stole the gold for $20 an ounce, then changed the price to $35 an ounce a year later. Then in 1944, after they 3x'd the amount of gold that they held by taking all the citizens' gold, then they entered Bretton Woods. That is when they made it so that the entire world had to operate on the dollar. Then in 1971, Nixon got pressured because everybody was taking their gold and they didn't trust us anymore, and then basically said, no more. Now the money's not back to anything anymore. So this is an old gold certificate. That's actually a real note. Our money used to look like that. It used to be redeemable to gold. Notice how none of the dollar bills now have any seal like that for a gold certificate or a silver cert. This is what this coin is right here, just to show you a blown up picture. This is a St. Gaudens $20 gold coin. If you look right here, it says United States of America, $20. And this was in 1907. So if you hear the term pre-33, that's back when our money used to be gold. So that's a pre-33 gold coin. Some people don't know that. Now you do. Let me go back. So hopefully there isn't too much rambling going on here. Absolutely incredible the way this was pulled off. A 3-part, basically, game of chess to expand M1 money supply. And back then, they would be, I think that if Nixon knew what he did by dropping the gold standard in 1971, if he knew it and he saw that it went from 4 trillion, even that 4 trillion number in 2020 was pretty astounding. He would have probably been like, I can't believe you never went back to a gold standard. I was supposed to temporarily suspend the convertibility of to gold, but it never changed. It never was temporary. That just goes to show you, be very weary when somebody says temporary. Somebody says this is a temporary thing in a position of power. What happens? Because they said they were going to temporarily suspend the convertibility to gold. Here we are, more than 50 years later, we still can't redeem our money to gold. Scary stuff. But if Nixon saw that it's now over 20 trillion in M1 supply, from 4 trillion to over 20 trillion in just the last 2-3 years, I think he would be astounded. And if people really think inflation is going to stay at 8%, I think they're going to see another thing coming when they realize that M1 has expanded as much as it has. And all of this was caused in 1933 to 1971. In 1933, they basically allowed themselves, they were stuck where they couldn't expand M1. You see, they wanted to grab more power. They wanted to be able to print money, but they couldn't do that because we were on a gold standard. This was our $20 bill. So to do that, they made it illegal to hold these and then stole it from the public, said, we'll pay you the $20. No, it says $20 on there. We'll pay you the $20. Then once they accumulated all of it, the year later, they said, actually, we're going to change it to $35 an ounce. It's still legal for you to hold, but now it's $35. And now we want all the world's gold too. And we're going to peg it to $35, even though we just stole it for an entire year for $20. So again, this is information that they won't teach you in college. It just won't happen. If you want to know more about this and you want to see pictures of all of this stuff, go to my Instagram at Rob Soltan on Instagram. Sometimes when you're subscribed to the channel, if this information was valuable, by the way, please do take that split second to hit that subscribe button. I know it's annoying. I know everybody says it, but I really am trying to grow my account and I want to provide valuable information. I don't have any advertisements in the middle of my videos, despite the ones that are just actually part of this platform that'll pop up, but I don't actually speak them in my videos. And to me, it just messes up the quality. So if you appreciate that, please do click that subscribe button, because it really does help if you click the subscribe button over there. And if you take that one split second to hit the like button, really would appreciate that too. And if you want to see pictures of all this stuff, again, go to my Instagram at Rob Sultan on Instagram. When you're subscribed on the YouTube channel, obviously click the subscribe and the bell, but sometimes it doesn't notify you. So I put in my story on my Instagram every time I make a new video or every time I go live. So that is your way to get a notification if you want to be notified of future videos. And there's some pretty cool stuff over there on my Instagram if you check out all the photos and stuff of all these bars and different collectibles that I hold. But again, hopefully this brought you some value. Pretty wild stuff. And in the beginning of the video, that was a genuine warning, even though it's kind of satire and I'm joking around a little bit. Part of me wishes I didn't know this information. Part of me wishes I could go back to being a kid at the skate park, not knowing anything about money. And then part of me is proud to know all of this stuff, to try to teach everybody what sound money really is and what happened and why is inflation doing what it's doing. Basically, Nixon caused us to go from an Austrian economics model to a Keynesian economics model, and Keynesian economics models always fail. How much longer will it be able to last? I don't know. But what Nixon did in 1971 is he made it so that none of the money in the world was backed to anything, and launched this basket of fiat currencies that are basically measuring each other against thin air. And it's a scary system. It really is. And how bad is inflation? I think it's a lot worse than 8%. And I don't think they're going to be able to slow it down anytime soon. That's the video. Again, hopefully it provides you some value. I know I said that a bunch of times, but that really is the point of making these videos. I will see you at the next one. Signing out.